I have to say it. I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. What?
How could you not predict at least 10 to 13 wins for next season is all I'm saying. But again,
Jesus Christ, 13 wins.
I said
you want an opportunity to play, and the Jets are giving me an opportunity to play.
I'm sorry. I just remember that you compared Gesicki to Kelsey. I'm sorry.
I did not. You know what?
About it, I am ready to get hurt again.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Battered Phins Fans podcast. As usual, I am the bearded fanatic. That is the Battered Jet fan himself, Mr. Danny Granada. And Danny, we're celebrating a week one victory. You are not, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But before we get started, I appreciate everybody that's around. We have another big guest with us today. Last week, we had the pleasure of having the 305 Sports Babe on our show. And I said, you know what? We got to get another huge Dolphins fan on the show again.
I don't think it gets any bigger.
I don't think it does get any bigger. When you are considered the NFL fan of the year for the year of 2020, he is the host, one of the hosts on DolphinsTalk.com. You could also follow him on Twitter at Ian693. We're going to give a big welcome to Mr. Big E himself. Ian, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I love your intro with Nick Saban. I am not going to be the coach of Alabama. Bam!
Yeah, there you go.
You know, one of the things that when we were putting that video together and that montage together, Danny's like, well, it is the Battered Phins fan show. He does the Battered Jets fan show, which I co-hosted with him as well. And we'll get into that in a second. He is a huge Jets fan, as I am the huge Dolphins fan. He said, let's go and pick some snippets of battered examples. I'm like, well, the Dolphins have so many. I sent them like 29, and he picked the, like, I guess the three best ones, and then a couple snippets from our shows that we did in the preseason. But nonetheless, I appreciate you being here because you're a big guy, and I don't mean just in the name. I mean, you're a pretty famous Dolphin fan, and I appreciate the fact that when I reached out, you were super open to it, and I appreciate you being here.
No, I thank you, and an opportunity to be your second guest. I say all the time, because we've got some great podcasts that are out there as Dolphins fans, as you do for Jets fans as well. You know, and I respect everyone who puts these together, because it's not easy, number one, and number two, it takes a lot of work to do what you guys do. So a lot of respect, a lot of praise from me, and I'm so just happy to be on with you guys tonight.
I appreciate that. The love.
I had a quick question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, man.
No, go for it. No, go for it.
Now, Manny told me that you were the NFL fan of the year. What comes into that? Is that does the team nominate you, or how does that work?
So little slight correction, and it's okay. I don't mind being named the NFL fan of the year, but I ended up being the Miami third.
Dolphins.
I was the Miami Dolphins fan of the year. Yes, I was the Miami Dolphins fan of the year for 2020. And what happened was they go through a nomination period where anyone can nominate themselves, other people can nominate other people, and then all those nominations go to the organization. And with the Miami Dolphins, they looked through all the nominations, and I was honored and blessed to be selected. Travis Wingfield, who does a lot of the stuff for the Miami Dolphins through their podcasting network, he was the one who delivered it to me in one of his podcasts.
That's awesome.
And with that, there are 32 NFL fans of the year. You know, we have an opportunity. I did it during the pandemic year, so there was a lot of stuff, a lot of Zoom. We had an opportunity to have a Zoom with Roger Goodell and ask him questions. We had Chris Carter as one of our Zooms as well, where we got a chance to ask him questions. A lot of other players. We got a chance to talk to the challenge officials that do like the official challenges during an NFL game. So we got a chance to do all that stuff. But then what happened was the final three in the contest for 2020 had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl in Tampa with Kansas City. It was a Tampa, Kansas City. And I was, again, blessed to be honored. That was something that the NFL went through all the 32 finalists, and they came down to the final 8, and I made the final 8, and then they whittled it down to the final 3, and I made it to the final 3. And fortunately, my friend Brandon, who was the Tennessee Titans fan of the year, ended up winning it all for that year. But the man does amazing things with kids at risk in Tennessee. So I couldn't have asked for a better person to win it all. And I got a chance to go to the Super Bowl. So I will never complain about that. And the experience was just amazing.
Shout out to Brandon.
Yes.
That sounds awesome. Okay, well, congrats on being in the top 3.
Thank you.
So let's get into a little bit of our week 1, Biggie and Danny. Let's recap the Patriots Phins game. And one of the big things that I took away from the game, and we talked about it last week, and I'll just give you a little snippet of last week, Ian. When we were talking with 305 Sports Babe and talking to Danny about it, I said one of the things that I wanted to see come into this game, which I think, if you recall from last season, we won a lot of games, you could say, in spite of Tua, not necessarily because of Tua. And I said one of the big things that I wanted to see come into this game was I wanted to see us win because of him. Now, that's just my selfish view on it, because I'll tell you one thing. I wasn't a fan, to no pun intended, of us drafting Tua at number 5. I always wanted Justin Herbert. Danny could allude to that even before the draft. But as soon as he got drafted, Danny will tell you, I bought my Tua jersey right away because I support who's on my team. But that's the one I think wanted selfishly was I wanted to win. I mean, I wanted him to be the reason we won. Didn't turn out that way. And I guess we'll start there. A win is a win at the end of the day. But I kind of want your thoughts on it. We obviously didn't win because of him, but we also didn't lose the game because of him. The guy did not have any turnovers. Did he miss a few throws? Sure. But he did what he always does. He managed the game very well, and we eventually got the win.
And I think that's the way I look at it as well. I'm super happy that we not only won the game, but we won against the stinking Patriots, and an AFC East opponent. Those games are never easy, any way you look at it. And the defense was as advertised, I guess you could say. Everyone expected basically the same defense from last year to come out strong, with Josh Boyer being the defensive coordinator. And we got exactly what we expected from the defensive side of the ball. On the offense, we've got some new playmakers. And I think when you got the ball in the hands of Tyreek, he made plays. When you got the ball in the hands of Chase Edmonds, he made some additional plays, some additional moves. Same thing with Raheem Mostert, right? And adding Teron Armstead was a difference maker on the offensive line. But I wanted to see more with Tua. And I think we will see more with Tua as each week progresses, because I think this game was the first time you got a chance to see this core offensive unit playing together. All the preseason games when we were up against the Eagles and the Raiders, these guys were not all on the field together. Yep. It was, Tyreek was sitting, Waddle was sitting because he was nursing his leg for a little while there, or Tua didn't play a game. So I think we are seeing a first step, which is let's get the ball into the playmakers' hands. The next step is building Tua's confidence to be able to say, throw it down the field like you did to open up the Philadelphia Eagles game. Let Tyreek make a play on the ball. I mean, he did that once. It was a 50-50 ball, and guess what? Tyreek snatched the ball out of the defender's hand.
I don't even think it was 50-50. Tyreek did one hell of a play there, because
it looked like an interception that he stole away.
Yes, for sure.
So, but I think that Tua comes from the mindset, or maybe it's Brian Flores that brainwashed him. That was, don't make the riskier throws. Make the throws that you are 90% sure you're going to be able to get a completion. And maybe it's something that he needs to kind of unlearn with Mike McDaniel. And clearly, and this is by and large, or by and far, it's not hating on Tua.
Not at all.
Because I think I'm like you. I really want to see this kid succeed. I love him as a person. He is the quarterback of my team. I don't want to see another person come in and take over for him. I want to see him be successful. And also, I want the fan base to unite for this team. And I think right now he is the player out of anybody on our team that is really creating division, because you've got some people that are saying he can't do it, and you've got some other people that are saying he can do it. So I want to see him be successful. I think he can be. And I think Mike McDaniel, the way that he motivates people, I think he's going to get inside to his head and say, listen, I'm never going to be upset at you if you throw the ball down the field 40 yards, and then all of a sudden it's an interception, right? Because we're going to go back and we're going to try it again the next time. We need that.
Right. Yep.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I appreciate that viewpoint because that's exactly how Danny and I see it. And going to Danny, one of the things we talked about last week was the fact that we have so many people who are either, again, very far left or very far right when it comes to the argument of Tua Tagovailoa. Most of us live right in the middle. We want him to succeed. We want him to be great. You know, we'll take games where he's just a manager, but we also want to see the taking over games from him. It doesn't have to be every game, but we want to see that he's capable of doing that, kind of how he did in college. But Danny, going to you now, a win is a win, right?
Well, most definitely. And I think that Biggie brought a great point up where he said Brian Flores, I think, really messed with his confidence because you go from one extreme to the other. His rookie year, he has a semi-bad first half, third quarter, and then Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in as the closer. I've never seen such a thing, and that can't. Who is going to come into a game confident when they know they're not going to end the game, and then to do it again the next week, and it became like a routine. Like he completely ruined his confidence. If the things that they were saying that he would tell to about how he wished he would have drafted somebody else or he wanted to get Deshaun Watson,
supposedly,
like if those things
supposedly,
are true, if those things are true, like. You can't expect a young quarterback that's already facing so many questions about his arm strength and whatnot to also have his coach not give him that confidence. You can't expect him to succeed. So week one, I thought Mike McDaniel did a great job as far as offensively. I love that I saw Tyreek Hill in motion so much before the play. I felt like
80%.
he's going to be every time I watched the snap, he was moving. And the defense can't set up correctly to defend somebody that fast when he's in motion so often. Now, the only bad throw I saw Tua make was one where he was running to his right. He was running to his right, tried to throw across the body, almost got intercepted. Other than that, I thought he had a clean game. Did he play an amazing game? No. But he won. He won, and that helps build your confidence. If you're winning, you're beating the Patriots, which aren't the Patriots of old. But if you're beating a division rival, you're building this confidence. I can't imagine that it's going to do anything but help that confidence grow. So definitely a win is a win for sure.
All right, and just some of the quick stats. He was 23 of 33, 270. The big one that jumped out at you, his history against the Patriots as far as yards per attempt, 5.6, 5.0, 7.5. This past game, 8.2. Now, granted, having a player with the capability of Cheetah on your team, along with Jalen Waddle, that's going to up those yards per pass attempt.
That 55-yard for sure.
The rating, 104.4. Again, we're not knocking him. We didn't win because of him, but we also didn't lose the game because of him. So great thing there. The one thing, Ian, and you talked about it on your show, one of the listeners brought this up, and it was a surprise to me. And I get what your co-host said. It's not a tight end friendly thing, but George Kittle, if I'm not mistaken, was on the San Francisco 49ers, where Mac McDaniel was the offensive coordinator, and he still played a big role in that San Francisco 49ers offense. Now, I understood his take. I want your take, because my take was Mike Gesicki needs to be involved more than just one target, one catch, 1 yard. That was a big standout to me. Danny will tell you that I compared him to George Kittle and Travis Kelce. I did not. I said I would put him in the same conversation of a top 5 tight end as far as his capabilities. But are you with me? 1 target, 1 catch, 1 yard. We need to involve that guy more.
And I will tell you, and this is going to be something that's really going to be interesting this coming weekend. It could be that was the game plan, to not use Gesicki as a receiver, to really use him on the line to try and block, maybe because it was something that they saw with the Patriots. But maybe this weekend against the Ravens, they start working towards the middle of the field, because Gesicki, let's be honest, he's another wide receiver, right? He's more of your slot type wide receiver. He had his most success when he was playing with Ryan Fitzpatrick, because Ryan Fitzpatrick knew how to use him smack dab in the middle of the field. And maybe I said this actually before the first game. I said there are going to be those opportunities. I think Gesicki still has a role here with the Miami Dolphins. I just don't think we've seen it yet, because McDaniel really is forcing him to try and learn to block and be used as a blocker. So I'm not ready to give up on Gesicki. He's got the skills. I mean, he made the most circus catches on the team last season. So again, he's another guy. You throw it up close to him, he's going to make a play on the ball. Exactly. So I'm hoping that McDaniel has something up his sleeve for this weekend to say, hey, we're going to use the tight end because we really didn't use him last time. And guess what? The Ravens are not going to be planning for that. And that's the important thing.
Well, the thing is with the Ravens, and I know we're going to get into the Ravens game in a little bit, but
Yeah.
the Ravens have probably the best secondary in the league. So if there's a game to look for your tight end, this would be Mike Gesicki's game to come out and have a good game because, I mean, you can't stop Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But if any team can contain them a little bit, it's going to be the Ravens secondary.
And we're gonna get into that, like you said, here in a few. But that's a big proponent because Mike McDaniel even mentioned it in his press conference. He goes, "I didn't see Raheem Mostert as much as I wanted to. I'm going to get him involved next week." Mike Gesicki's name didn't come up, but I think I like that thought process that maybe that was the game plan. We're not going to use you as much week 1, but we're going to use you a lot more in week 2. But before we get off this game, there was I don't want to say a lot of players to pick from, that week 1 victory. But I kind of want to know what you guys thought, what your standout player was. I'll give you mine real quick. I thought it was Brandon Jones again. I've been a Brandon Jones fan since he got drafted. I think the guy is amazing coming off the edge, and I love how often they send him off the edge. He had 6 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and obviously Melvin Ingram picked it up for a touchdown. That was my standout player of week 1. I think the kid just keeps getting better and better every week. He keeps getting better every year, and eventually having a backfield. And I hope I don't get ahead of myself, guys, here, but I'm going to say it. Do you remember the days, Danny, Ian, of having Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain, Brock Marion, Brian Walker in the backfield? I'm just saying.
I hated it for sure.
A Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, Brandon Jones, Javon Holland backfield. I could kind of see it. I'm just saying. But Danny, give me who you thought
being
was
coached by them. Being coached by them.
Right. Who do you think was your standout player of week 1?
I guess it's easy to go with Jalen Waddle because he had the 55-yard touchdown, but not so much. Maybe I'm thinking ahead. Okay. But when I saw how much focus goes put towards Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle is going to have such an amazing season because I thought that it might take away from Jalen Waddle, but I really think that he's really going to benefit with all those motions that Tyreek Hill, because teams are going to start focusing like we have to stop this guy and figure out a way to put 2 over him when he's moving around. Jalen Waddle is going to feast. So Jalen Waddle, and Chase Edmonds. Why did nobody talk about Chase Edmonds?
We did talk about it. We talked about it. I told you he was going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. Yes. Yeah, he only had 12 carries, I believe 25 yards, which is rushing total, but he had 4 catches, 40 yards coming out the backfield. He was catching the balls. He was making people miss. A lot of good jukes out there. I think Chase Edmonds is a great addition to this offense. But Ian, who was your standout player of week 1? Who would you give that vote to?
So I agree with you both, by the way, but I'm going to go with someone different just because I don't like to pick the same players as you guys. But I'm going to say Connor Williams. I'm going to say the center. Here's the thing, right? You go back, the last viable center that did anything good for us was Mike Pouncey. And how long ago was that, right? How long ago was that? 5 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was. It's been a turnstile. It's been a rotation ever since Mike Pouncey left. So, yes, Connor Williams had the high snap to start the game. I think he calmed that down throughout the game. But he was, if I remember reading this right, he was the top-rated center or one of the top-rated centers in the National Football League this past weekend. And if he can be consistent at that position, and we can actually say that that position is taken care of for this season, next season, future seasons, then we're in good shape, guys, because that's been an issue of ours, just trying to shore up some of that offensive line.
Well, I will tell you that I thought that I wasn't sure if it's that the Patriots overall are just performing at a lot lower level than I'm used to, or that the offensive line for the Dolphins has improved. So maybe it's a little bit of both. Yeah. But I definitely thought that you guys looked a lot better on the offensive line than I mean, this week is going to be a challenge, but week 1, I thought you guys passed with flying colors, at least as far as protection goes.
I'll tell you that, and I'll piggyback off of what Ian said right before we move on. Outside of the first snap of the game, which we all know that went really high. Yeah. Outside of that guy had no other errors. The way he was blocking downfield, the way he was opening up holes, the way he was double teaming nose tackles. I agree, Ian. He was a very good one to pick. But alas, we must move on. And I want to do a quick look back. Last year, Danny called it the blueprint. We're going to look back at week 10, the blueprint of we came into it where, if I'm not mistaken, Ian, at that point, we were 1-7, if I'm not mistaken. NFL Network had, I think, their whole everybody was picking the Baltimore Ravens to come in here and just stomp us. And it was my first night game of that season.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
what
amazing.
a beautiful night! What
Right.
a beautiful night it was.
And I enjoyed it because I said, you know what? I kind of agree with wherever he's coming from. That yeah, we're on the low totem pole, but I've never
It
been a
made
believer.
sense.
I've never been a believer of Lamar Jackson the way everyone else has, and that's neither here nor there. But I said, if you make this guy a passer, you could beat him. And I know that I'm not a genius for thinking that. That's just if you watch the game enough, you know that his strong suit is not passing the rock. Make this guy a passer, you could beat him. And you know what? The Dolphins decided to show up that day and said, you know what? We're going to make him a passer. And they blitzed the hell out of him. And we shut that Baltimore Ravens offense down. And by offense, I mean the running back at quarterback, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
You guys broke the record for most safety blitz in NFL history that game. I don't know if you guys knew that. It was insane.
Actually, we were the highest blitzing team last year. And then we were also the highest safety blitzing team last year. So since last year, we still hold the crown of, and you saw how often they sent Javon Holland and Brandon Jones this past week. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that. But now we look ahead. And you know, one thing that I saw Ian and Danny coming into it, and I kind of figured that the Baltimore Ravens did lead the Dolphins when it came to head-to-head victories, but it's only 8-7. But the last few have been, outside of the one that we destroyed them, they usually kick our ass pretty well. And getting into this, when Tua played last year, we didn't win because of Tua. Again, we won because of the defense. I kind of want to get into it and hear what you guys think. But Danny, I'll start with you.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Fuller is out for the year. Ravens corner.
Yep.
Their other corner, I'm forgetting the name right now. If you
Marcus
guys get
Peters?
Is that Humphrey?
Yeah.
Peters and
Marcus,
Humphreys, right?
Yeah. Marcus Peters is also questionable for the game. When you come into it, again, another situation, and I get our offensive line is banged up, but this is another situation where you could technically take advantage of the Ravens secondary and that defense because their strength is up front. Those front seven are lethal, and they'll get after you. But I kind of want to know what you guys think about this upcoming game. So, Danny, hit me with it. When you're looking ahead, what do you see from this game?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that you guys have never won in M&T Bank Stadium over there in Baltimore. So that was news to me. Do I think that makes a big deal? No, but that was interesting. I just watched this Ravens team beat up on my Jets team.
Yep, that's why I came to you first.
And I will tell you that I am not impressed with this Ravens team. I understand that they beat up on them, but they beat up on them off of a long pass interference. Like the Jets are just bad, but the Ravens, they honestly didn't impress me that much. I think you guys should be able to handle them if the O-line can stand up. Because where the Jets failed was they got pressure, and with Joe Flacco back there, they couldn't do anything because he's a statue back there.
Yeah.
So if the O-line stands up with the injuries that they have in the secondary, I don't see them stopping Tyreek Hill and Jayden Waddle. And as far as your defense goes, Lamar Jackson didn't rush at all against us. We completely stopped the run. But when I was watching the game, to me, it seemed like he wasn't looking to run. He was looking to pass. Not sure why.
I think I know why, but I'll get into it in a second.
Okay, but it looked like it was by design. He wasn't looking to pass. He wasn't looking to run. If you guys can contain the run, Mark Andrews, if Sauce Gardner was able to defend Mark Andrews and shut him down, I can't imagine that Xavier Howard can't do the same. So if we were able to more, because again, I don't want to get too much into the Jets, but if we were able to more or less dominate that game defensively up until the fourth quarter, I think you guys should be able to handle this Ravens team handedly.
All right. And Ian, I'll go to you now. The coach didn't commit today to either Teron Armstead or Austin Jackson playing. Obviously, Austin Jackson because of the ankle. Teron Armstead, he only missed one series, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, against the Patriots. I don't think it's a big deal. I think he's playing coy. It's like, why give the Ravens any other ammo to potentially plan against us? I think Teron Armstead, I agree with what you said on DolphinStock.com. I think Teron Armstead will play. But missing Kyle Fuller, missing Marcus Peters, this has to be ripe for the taking for us, right?
Yeah, and heading back to Baltimore for an away game reminds me of the last game that we played there. And you guys may remember that was the Kiko Alonso personal foul against Joe Flacco,
Yes,
knocked
Joe
him out,
Flacco.
right? And he's like, check
Yep.
please, right, with his hand. And also, I think that was the one where Ndamukong Suh took the defender by his neck.
Yep.
And and he ended up getting thrown out of the game on that one. So that was the last time, and that was a loss for the Dolphins, obviously,
40 to 0, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the score on that one.
It was not good, but
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of questions, and they're probably, or they will get answered this coming Sunday, right? The question is, was the New England Patriots just really bad, or were the Miami Dolphins just really good, right? That's one of the questions. And then the same thing is going to go for the Ravens. Was it the fact that the Jets are just really bad, or the Ravens are just really good? And I think that's going to come to head this coming weekend. And, the Dolphins do have against them the fact that this is going to be the home opener for the Ravens. Anytime you're at a home opener, there's some excitement. There's going to be more fans. There's going to be a lot more noise, so you're going to have that. But let's see if what Coach McDaniel said is really going to come to fruition. And what he said was, we want game one to be the worst game of our season. We want to be able to learn from our mistakes and then continually get a little better. And I'm sure he has gone into that film room with Tua and said, look, here was an opportunity. You could have thrown the ball 25 yards down the field, but you chose to throw the 5-yard pass instead, right? I'm not going to get mad at you. If you throw it down 25 yards and it ends up being an incompletion, I want you to take those chances and let Tyreek make a play, let Waddle make a play, or let Gesicki make a play, right? We're going to give you some of that time. And to your point, too, I do think Teron Armstead is going to play. I think Austin Jackson is still up in the air, but what is it? I think it's Robert Jones is the backup, and he came in and did a really nice job when Austin Jackson was out for the game. So I think we can hold our own, and if we can get that extra time in the pocket, I think you'll see Tua throwing those down the field. Go ahead.
That's going to be key. No, one thing that I did want to mention that I forgot to bring up earlier, one thing that disappointed me about the Dolphins week one is that in reality, they only scored 13 points on offense. And if you take out, obviously they scored that 55-yard touchdown, but it was on 4th down. If they do what you're supposed to technically do and punt it, they don't score a touchdown there. So I felt like the offense didn't produce as much as I thought it would. Like, I know I was a little more grounded than maybe 305 Sports Babe and Manny, because you guys were predicting a big game.
I thought 20. I think I predicted 24, and she predicted around 27, if I'm not mistaken.
And I predicted more or less 17. But I was very surprised that they only got 1 touchdown and 2 field goals, and that 1 touchdown came on a 4th and 7, which, most people wouldn't even try that out. Which, hey, I give it to Mike McDaniel. I thought it was awesome. But if it doesn't work out, then you got 6 points on the board. So
I was getting concerned, Danny, after the Patriots came down and Ty Montgomery caught that pass and scored a touchdown. I just thought to myself, there is no reason that this game should be this close. Yep. Because I really felt that the Dolphins had much of the momentum. The defense was really holding as much as they possibly could. And I just thought to myself, there is no way we're leaving game one against this team that had a horrible preseason, because the Patriots had a horrible preseason. And, we've got all this hype and we've got all this great talent. There's no way we should lose this game. And I honestly felt that it was going to be a 35-17 game. And it should have been. After, at halftime it was 17-0, right? At halftime.
Yes. Yep.
That first drive that we got, because we got the ball after halftime, I really felt like we should have just jammed it down their throat, run it down the field. But we just came out really flat after halftime, and it took us some time to be able to get some additional scores. So we learned, we won, we're excited about that. And let's see what we can do week 2. And if we can go into Baltimore and we can prove and win that game, and we can prove to all these people, that yes, we can win these games against difficult or, successful opponents, then I think you're going to see a lot of narrative change about the Dolphins. And I think you'll see a lot of the people, who are questionable about Tua, kind of start coming around a little bit, because we want those wins. He doesn't need 500 yards for stats. We just want the wins.
I like it. And funny enough that you mentioned at halftime that we're up 17-0. Ian, funny story before we picked this game, and I kind of alluded Danny to it before the show. I didn't make it past halftime. And why do you ask? The sun, sir. The sun got to me.
That's right. I remember where you're sitting. I
Yep.
remember because I saw you in that area that time.
At one point, it was 2 minutes left to the half. It was right before that 4th and 7. I looked at my buddy that I took to the game, and I said, I think the sun's getting to me. And he goes, we should probably get upstairs then. And I said, you know what? Give me a couple more minutes, and let's see if I could, withstand it. Stupid idea, by the way. And he looked at me and said, if you wait a couple more minutes, I'm pretty sure you won't make it up the steps. I said, you are a smart man. Let's go ahead and do that. Ian, by the time I got to the top, my whole body cramped up on me, and it was time to leave the stadium. I was severely dehydrated. EMTs had to come check me out.
Oh no.
Yep. I did not finish the game. And the reason I brought this up is just bring a little bit of humor. Guys, drink your water, especially if you're in South Florida. Drink your water. I know Danny had some questions for me before we move on. Danny, what are those questions?
It's not a question. It's you know what I think happened? You guys scored 17 in the first half, and then you left.
Yeah.
I think that's the key right
So
there. That's the
reason.
key. Yeah, that's the key. You
As
gotta
loud
make
as I
sure
was
you
being, right.
go stay hydrated, and the Dolphins will be okay.
I appreciate that. But yeah.
Before they put that canopy on, I used to take my dad to games, and that sun would beat down. And if we didn't come with a wet towel and spray bottles to spray us with water, there was no way we were going to be able to finish that game to the very end. It was hot. It was hot there. What do they say? 110 degrees, I think, field temperature for that game.
And I sit row 1, section 130, so I'm as close to the field as possible. And it was like 105 when I checked my phone. Even my phone was trying to die out on me. But I got up. Listen, Ian, I'll be honest with you. I'm a 38-year-old man going on 39. It was a scary moment. I said I have never felt this in my life. I'm used to being out in the sun, but like I said, we're getting old. We're getting old over here.
How did the EMTs know to come to you?
So when I got to the top, and we're going on too long of this already. You're egging it on. When I got to the top, I said I need to sit down, but I didn't. My body was like, "You're not going anywhere." So Nelson noticed that I couldn't get down. He brought the EMTs over, and Ali and they're like, "Hey, you all right?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." Absolutely.
Oops.
But like I said, drink your water. Drink a lot of water the night before. Drink even more water the day. And I'm not a drinker, guys, so you can't blame it on alcohol here. I do not drink. Yep. I don't smoke. I literally got to the stadium. I grabbed myself one of the little personal pizzas. I drank 2 bottles of water before heading down to my seats before game time.
Still.
As Ian wanted, he said he wanted everybody in their seats before the game started to be as loud as possible.
Thank you.
I was there, and the sun kicked my ass.
Hey, Ian, I have a question for you because Manny gripes about this all the time.
Sure.
How I couldn't tell over the TV. Are you guys being quiet when you guys are on offense?
I will tell you that this game particularly, I felt like the fans did a better job of being quiet on offense. And I'll tell you, at certain points, there were some people that were starting their, let's go Dolphins chants
on offense,
and everybody was like trying to shut them up, and I think it worked because they didn't continue. Now, in prior years, someone would start "Let's go Dolphin," and then they'd keep it going. Now, also, I think the players had a say in that because you saw the players doing this at a certain points, and I think everybody was like, "All right, time to be quiet now." But yeah,
the one thing, and I'd say last point before we move on, because Danny brought it up. The one thing I will tell you that in my section 130, where I'm surrounded by nothing but Patriots fans, it's very easy for me to be like, "Shut the hell up" to my Dolphins because there's like a whole 10 in my section. But section 129, where a lot of our friends are 305. I mean, Spirit Fingers, Dolph Freaky, and her clan.
Oh yeah.
They're very good at telling their fans to shut up. But all I hear from the 300s, "Let's go Dolphin." I'm like, I wish I was up there. But
it's because those are casual fans, which is okay. They're casual fans, but they're used to going like, let's say, a Heat game. The Heat are on offense. You're chanting "Let's go Heat" because it doesn't affect the offense.
Right.
So
I think it's an education thing because we really haven't had a good, consistent football team in well over 20 years.
Fair enough.
So you've got an entire generation of kids, of teenagers, of 20-something-year-olds
watching from home.
They've never experienced that. They've never seen that before. So they don't know what they're supposed to do. Right. Exactly.
So what you're saying, Danny, is stop being mean to the Dolphin fans around me. They probably don't know any better. That's the point you're probably making.
Be nice. How am I a Jets fan and I'm nicer to Dolphin fans than you are?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Danny, we're approaching that scapegoat where we got a few minutes left. It's time for the Battered Phins fans. Give me your prediction portion of this. And you're right. Last week I did go high, but it's because I expected much more out of my offense than I guess a lot of us did. A lot of us did expect more out of this offense. But I'm going to give the Ravens way more credit, even though they're potentially down a couple corners, that they have a much better defense than what the New England Patriots have. And when I'm looking at everything, right, when I'm looking at everything, so I'm going to predict that Teron Armstead is going to play. Let's say that we do have another right tackle in place, even though Austin Jackson was getting beat a lot, Ian, and I'll obviously give you a shot here in a second to talk about that. Austin Jackson was getting beat like there's no tomorrow. Tua's main pressure when he had to run for his life was coming from that right side of the ball. It is what it is. ESPN has them as 72% favorites. We're a 3.5 underdog at the moment. Like Danny said, we've never gone to M&T and won up there. But I still feel that our offense is much stronger than their defense, and our defense is much stronger than their offense. By a lot, maybe not. I think Lamar Jackson is still a problem at quarterback. And I think we win this game. I don't think it's high scoring. I'm going to go 2017 Dolphins win this game. Ian, what's your guess for this game?
Yeah, I think when you look at the teams and you kind of go player on offense versus player on defense, and you kind of do that on both sides of the ball, for both teams, I think that the Dolphins has more playmakers, and I think the Dolphins has more players that you'll end up seeing making it to the Pro Bowl, at the end of the year. I think that's just how it's been designed. I think that's how it's been put together. And yes, Lamar can run, and maybe that's the game plan. Maybe he didn't show what he wanted to show versus the Jets, and maybe that's what they're going to do this weekend.
Very possible, because I'm telling you, I was watching it. He was staying purposely. He wasn't even thinking about running.
But like I said, too, I think the Miami Dolphins are going to have something up their sleeves. I don't think they showed everything last weekend against the Patriots. And I love the designs and the complexity that Mike McDaniel shows with his team, that you really don't know where you're going to go. And what did you say? 70% of the plays, there was some movement, 80% of the plays.
Tyreek Hill's offensive snap, 80% of them were with motion.
So you don't know what's going to happen with the ball, and you have to pay attention to Tyreek, or else he can run it to the house. So I also agree, though, that I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. Now it could be, and we're just totally off. But I'm calling it Dolphins 24 and the Ravens 21. I think we're going to get our first victory there, and I think we're going to come home and we're going to be going up against the 2-0 Bills team at home in Miami, 95, 100-degree weather.
Drink your water.
Man, that would be insane. We've got some payback against these Bills. So
that'll be the biggest game in a while.
Yeah.
And Danny, before you give me your prediction, I don't think it's anything to do with what you're going to give me, but just to give you some feedback. The Miami Dolphins this previous week jumped to number 11 in the power rankings. Their next three opponents, number 6, number 1, number 7. Before the season started,
Ravens are number 6?
Yes. Before the season started, yeah, I get it. Before the season started, I said our best case scenario, I assumed, our best case scenario is we come out of this 2-2. And I told you, I think the losses were going to come. I'm sorry. I thought the losses were going to come for sure against the Bills. And I thought if we're going to lose, it's going to be on a short week against the Bengals. I thought we'd start season 2-0 just because I didn't believe in the Patriots, and I don't believe I believe more in the Baltimore Ravens than I do the New England Patriots, but I think we're still in a better position than the Baltimore Ravens are. So I know it's not going to do a lot, but we have to win one of these next 3 against a number 6, number 1, and number 7 power ranked teams. What do you think going into this weekend for us?
No, I think you guys also win. Your strength is your cornerbacks, but Lamar Jackson doesn't have the arms to throw out there. So he throws down the middle more than anything, and he'll throw deep. And because you guys might go 0 blitz again like you did last time, I mean, what you have to do is you have to get Xavier Howard and put him on Mark Andrews. So as long as you stop that tight end, you guys are a lot better than the Jets are in the secondary. And we just had some miscommunication back there with some guys were just running free. I can't see you guys doing that. I can't imagine Lamar Jackson putting up a lot of points on you guys. I think you guys
You don't see another. You don't see another.
I think you guys get it. I think you guys get in the end zone. Oh, wait. If your offensive line holds up, I see you guys getting in the end zone 3 times. I think you guys win 21-10.
I like that. And you're saying that Lamar Jackson won't have another 3 touchdown performance day like he did against the Baltimore Ravens, all through the air. By the way, Ian, 3 touchdowns all through the air against his New York Jets.
And when we talk Jets, I will explain to you what exactly happened there and why it was not impressive.
Well, no, that makes sense. And I have the Dolphins going 3-1 the first 4 games of the season. By the way, I'm very high on the. And again, it's all about the talented players that we have. And somebody we haven't talked about at all is it Darth Cater Kahoo? The undrafted
Darth Kahoo,
undrafted free agent. He comes in because Byron Jones is out for the first 4 weeks, and the kid goes out there and makes a name for himself. Yes, and now you got him, you got Javon, you got Xavier Howard, you got Brandon Jones, who has obviously proven to also take another step in the right direction. We've got a very viable defense, and I'm calling it that I think we'll be a top 5 defense when all is said and done by the end of the year.
I'm not 100% sure, so if I'm wrong, don't come for me. I believe he's from Texas A&M Central, if I'm not mistaken, is the college that he's out from. Danny's like, who is this guy? Don't worry about it. I'll fill you in when we're off the show. But Ian, again, from the bottom of my heart, it was a pleasure having you on. I look forward to potentially having you on in the future. If you ever need a fluffy bearded guy to talk on your show, I'd be more than happy to join you as well.
Or an impartial Jets fan.
But ladies and gentlemen, make sure you follow him at Ian693, the Big E, Miami Dolphins fan of the year. It was a pleasure having you. This is the Battered Phins podcast show. We are Battered fans, and we will see you next week on episode 3. Fins up.
Fins up, everybody.
I can't do it. Sorry.